Okay, so now I will be going over question 23. So the first important concept in question 23 is forces. Okay, so the simple definition of a force is an interaction that causes an affected object to be pushed or pulled in a certain direction. So basically, forces will cause objects to accelerate. They'll cause a change in an object's momentum. So basically, that's just the simple definition of forces. Okay, so basically, forces can be represented by arrows. So forces being involved in actions and reactions are typically represented with arrows. And so I'm just going to draw an arrow here. And so the direction that an arrow points shows the direction of force that is being applied to something, and also the size of the arrow shows the strength of the force being applied to an object. So this, we can see that a force is being pointed upward. Let's say this is a box or small box up here, so a force is being applied upward to the box, and this is the strength. Say if we had another force like this, it wouldn't be as strong because the arrow is not as long. So that's just basically how we represent something, a force in an action or reaction, with arrows. So I'm just going over that. And then the next concept I will go over is balanced forces. So this is related to Newton's third law, but basically it says that when equal and opposite forces act on the same object, so that's important, it has to be the same. If it's different objects, then it will be a different situation, but when they act on the same object, they will cancel out. So equal and opposite forces acting on the same object will cancel out. So I'll give an example. This is a box, and let's say force is being applied downward, force being applied upward. Just imagine that these are the same size, and okay, so they're equal, and then they're opposite in direction, so they will cancel out, and that is balanced forces. Okay, so now I will read question 23. The figure above shows the directions and relative magnitudes of all three forces that are acting on an object. Which of the following best shows the direction of the object's acceleration? Okay, so first I'm going to draw the picture as accurately as possible. So I'll draw a line here, and this is the object. There's a force going upward, force there, and a force here. And for to make this problem simpler, I'll label this as force 1, force 2, and force 3. So as you can see in this picture, force 1 is a greater strength than force 2 and force 3. Force 2 and force 3 have the same amount of strength, but obviously they're pointed in different directions. Okay, so what we see here is that force 3 won't matter. It won't cancel with anything because there's not anything going here, so it won't be able to cancel. But force 1 and force 2, in this case, they're in opposite directions. However, they're not equal. So that means that only about half of force 1 will cancel because of force 2. So force 2 will only cancel about half of force 1 because force 2 is approximately half of force 1. So that means, just an arrow out here, once this cancels, because it is opposite and the amount equal it is to here, force 1 will be like this. Force 3, since force 3 doesn't cancel with anything, will be like that. And so those are what will happen. And so to find the the direction of the object's acceleration, it's going to be like this, because that is the middle of force 1 and force 3, and force 2 cancels as we've shown. And yeah, so the correct answer to question 23 will be A, because it shows the correct force going out of force 1 and force 3. Okay, so in conclusion, this question showed important concepts of forces and how when we have balanced forces and they're in equal, which is when forces are in equal and opposite directions, they will cancel out. And also just about important concept about forces in general and what they are and how they can be represented by arrows to show the forces acting on an object.